Councilmember Cosarelli? DePena?
Here.
Graziano?
Here.
Nassari?
Here.
Robel?
Here.
Strumelberg?
Present.
Mayor Melham?
Here. Pledge allegiance.
I'm going to ask everybody just to remain standing for a moment of silence for 9/11. Thank you.
Sunshine notice.
Notice of this meeting is given to the press and the public in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law.
Motion.
Regular meeting of August 14th.
So moved. Motion made and second. Let me call the roll for 12 minutes.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nassari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. For the manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. My first item this evening concerns what was formerly referred to as a preschool. Now it's the enrichment program. I'd like to, with your permission, hand this one off to Councilwoman DePena, who's done a lot of work in this area.
Thank you. In our last meeting, it was brought to our attention that the preschool program that's running out of our rec house was being shut down, and we had some citizens that were a bit upset in regards to that, and we were all very concerned about seeing it shut down. So we worked very hard along with Mr. Augusta and Ms. Carroll, who is the director of that program, in regards to being able to understand the challenges and continue to run the program. So we are very happy to inform that we had the engineer come to the rec house and actually inspect the building and give us the go-ahead in regards to the building being safe in order for us to continue running the program there. And beginning October 1st, we will continue to host it for one more year. We will, moving forward from there, we'll revisit and see how we can better serve the needs of the community. But we are very happy to continue moving forward and being able to do this program.
And the new name will be...
Yes, so we want to clarify that this is not a child care center, but this is a program in order to prepare our children to go on to kindergarten. So this will be our early childhood enrichment program. And yes, and we are opening up for 3-year-olds that are fully potty trained to join the program as long as they're turning 4 throughout the course of that school year. So 3 and 4-year-olds, and we're continuing to serve that population. We're really excited.
For those of us that have gone there, it was great. It was a great thing to do. I loved it.
Okay, thank you. Next item I have this evening, we had anticipated entertaining a budget amendment this evening relative to our budget, but the state has requested additional documentation, so that was obviously delayed. So we will be amending and adopting the budget on September 25th, which is our next meeting. On tonight's agenda, you'll also see some items that were introduced by the manager. And for those of you that have been here, I don't introduce many things to the agenda. But the first is an ordinance for introduction to hire a part-time qualified purchasing agent at the rate of $25 an hour. And there's also a company resolution permitting an increase in the bid threshold from $17,500 to $40,000 and appointing Kathy Rumpashevsky as the QPA on a part-time basis. I also have a resolution authorizing the planning board to conduct a preliminary investigation to determine whether a property on Washington Avenue can be permitted as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. I have a resolution authorizing the banking group to be maintained as a specialized financial / redevelopment consultant on an as-needed basis. This is not a full-time job. We also have, under new business, a loan relative to a settlement that was reached under the prior administration concerning one of our employees. The township's portion of that settlement was $183,307. The MEL, which is the excess carrier to our insurance, has agreed to allow us to pay that money back. They are loaning us the money, and we will be paying that back. over 10 years at $18,337 a year. Relative to DPW activity, on Saturday, August 18th, on Fairway Avenue, we had the pump station fail with some electrical problems, and we were manually pumping sewage overnight. It was back online Sunday, August 19th. On the August 22nd, we installed 2 8-inch water mains and 1 8-inch sewer for the Wawa property going in on what I refer to as the old Jurgens property, and for those of you who are younger, call it the Roche property. On August 27th, we installed 2 12-inch water main connections for, at the old Soho Hospital for that project, which is moving forward. On September 5th, we had a water main break at 197 Floyd Street, where we replaced 4 feet of 6-inch water main. On September 7th, on 248 Belmont Avenue, the sanitary sewer collapsed, and we replaced part of that 8-inch sewer main. And since our last meeting of August 14th, we have removed 4 dead trees in the township, trimmed 28 trees, ground 14 stumps, and applied 12 clean liens on properties that are not being maintained. That's all I have.
Any questions, council members?
I just wanted to mention that we all talked about in the pre-meeting, the streets and getting better communication out there, let people know what's going on with all the streets that are being paved, what's being paved. So that was one of the things that we're fully aware of, that maybe we need to communicate a little better to people what the status is.
Thank you. I'm gonna get that on my mayor's report. Deputy Mayor?
Mauro, I've received a lot of calls, and I've also taken part in doing this too, with the garbage pickup. There's when the garbage company comes, after they pick up, there's a lot of garbage all over. Last week, I was actually picking up chicken parts that were not even my chicken, it wasn't even my chicken. A lot of people are telling me, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people are telling me they don't even want their garbage picked up because they have to pick it up right after the garbage man comes. I called your office and your girl said to me, we do get a lot of complaints, we're getting a lot of complaints too. So maybe we can have a meeting with these, with the company, but it's really been going on for quite a while now. I'm constantly picking up garbage. If I'm home from work, I stop my car to pick up garbage.
Yeah, we've had one meeting that the mayor attended with representative of the garbage company, but it may be time to get.
Yeah, I mean, it's out of control.
I'm gonna hit that now. Anybody else? Before I go? No? Next up, we have, the mayor. So for those of you who are new here, who haven't come to that many meetings before, one of the new features that we have is the mayor's report. By next meeting, if not into October, we're gonna have another section, slight section called committee reports, where individual council members can report on individual items that they've been working on. So real quick, I'm just gonna go through a couple different items. First of all, you'll notice that we do have our Belleville Little League team here, District 8 champs. Very glad to see them here. Just a few minutes, we'll be getting to them and then give them an opportunity to leave, and we'll open up some more seats for everybody else. I'll be speaking more about that in a second. There is a sign-up sheet in the back of the room. We're trying to change it around a little bit from last time. The sign-up sheet is not mandatory. If you want to speak during the public participation portion of the meeting, you have every right to do so. We just ask that you state your name and address for the record. If you want to sign in, either before or after that, that's fine. It just helps us, whether it's a council member or the town administration, potentially contact you or reach you the next day. That's the only reason why we ask for your contact information. If you're so inclined to have an issue that we try and address, maybe the next day, we might want to contact you, communicate with you. We'll utilize that for that reason. Unfortunately, today we're not live streaming the meeting. We've live streamed every single meeting since July 1st. Unfortunately, we just don't have any Wi-Fi here in the room. We went live a few times during the caucus meeting. If you were online, you saw it go up and down. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi is just, signal's not too strong. Sorry about that. But to my next point, we did have proposals come in here based on our first ever live stream meeting after July 1st. We had a lot of people complain about the audio quality. I've actually asked my colleagues here to speak directly into the microphone as I am now, but we do have a company coming in to retrofit this equipment that we're using from 1970. The recording equipment is the same. They're going to retrofit the microphones, the recording equipment, have monitors up in the ceiling here, so we can view planning board and zoning board exhibits and such like that. And that will have better capabilities of live streaming. Actually, it would not be a device that we're using now, it would be hardwired into the building with permanent Wi-Fi. So I apologize that we're not streaming right now, but there's an absolute reason. Next up, myself, the manager, Councilman Cosarelli, attended that meeting. We met last week with DOT. For those of you who don't know, Washington Avenue is the state highway. We've had anywhere between an $8 to $10 million project that's been here in Belleville since 2014, I want to say. And we're now ready to deal with that. It's time to do that. It's a total restructure of Washington Avenue. It's definitely asphalt and paving, milling. Potentially is going to include some sidewalks and some streetscape there. We're negotiating with them to get the best design for what our community really wants, but at the end of the day, it's important to know it is a state highway. They really don't need our permission. They can come in tomorrow and start digging up the street, so we're trying to negotiate with them to get the best look and feel for what we want to see Washington Avenue look like. So that's something that we're really looking forward to. If we say yes today, that could be 2 to 3 years out, by the way. So it's time to really get moving on that. I did mention that we have at least 2 bids in for audio equipment for this room. Those of you who were on Facebook today saw that we are introducing an ordinance to curtail some of the, what I call littering of the pamphlets that get thrown on your front lawn. You have to pick up after that. People are on both sides of that conversation. I just want everybody to know I'll deal with it during public participation. We are not getting rid of that. We're just looking to enforce that company, when you do opt out, to allow you to opt out. Right now, you can call, they are very nice, and they can say they're taking you off the list, but they do not opt you out. So we're just trying to do something to curtail that. It's an issue with foreclosed houses, houses that are for sale, houses that are vacant. It's just an ongoing issue that we're trying to deal with. And again, we're trying to deal with some small quality of life issues. We are tackling some big things, especially now September and October. We're going to start getting into some action plans for different departments and different things that we want to see as a body executed. So while we have our eye focused on some of the big things, we're not taking our eye off some of the smaller quality of life issues. Speaking of which, this coming Thursday is Just a Party. Myself, Councilwoman Burke, and the manager's office are working hard on that. We're crossing our fingers that the rain holds. It seems like every Just a Party, we're crossing our fingers that the rain holds. And the rain has held for the most part, every single year. Hopefully this year is no different. After that, we are looking at, we just got the okay today. We haven't signed any of the paperwork, but we did get the okay today for Belleville's first ever food truck and music festival. That's going to be on Friday, October 12th, from 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock. It's going to have music, a classic car show, 15 different food trucks. Very excited about that one. And in November 10th, we're having our first ever 5K run. That'll be the day before Veterans Day, which is Sunday the 11th. And proceeds from that will go to help either our veterans organizations or to give a scholarship to a serviceman or woman's child who's in school. That is done. We did discuss, as Councilman Rebell mentioned, in caucus, that we are looking for a bunch of different streets that we're going to be paving, and we're looking for better communication. We're out there, we get phone calls, we get emails, we get plenty of Facebook messages about questions that you have, and sometimes we have those same questions. We don't have all the answers just as we sit here. So we've asked the manager to get us a schedule, maybe even some color-coded maps that we can put out there on the website, on social media. At least we can be more equipped to answer some of those questions. And finally, to Deputy Mayor Natari's question, I did have a meeting with the manager and our contractor. We discussed various issues, from them throwing the garbage cans and them not picking up. We discussed various issues. Immediately after that, we received even more complaints, as you could attest to. So I think the manager probably has good enough direction to maybe make another phone call and try and get them back in. That said, that's it for me. Sorry for all that, but there was a lot of stuff happening. Lastly, I want to end with Councilman DePena is just going to give us a quick update. One of the new committees that we're trying to start is that we're going to have several council members be liaisons between the Board of Education. One thing I heard during the election cycle was that we need better cooperation between this governing body and that governing body. And we have the luxury now, the added advantage of a former Board of Education trustee sitting here on this board. We have Councilman DePena, former educator in Belleville, so they're basically the ad hoc committee right now, going to be liaison between the town council and the Board of Education. And vice versa, they also have a Board of Education trustee, Chris, who was here? She's here. So we now have a liaison, a member of the Board of Education sitting in on our meetings. We will then be sending one of our council members to their meetings so we can communicate. And I think Councilman DePena, just a brief update on what she heard at that meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was in attendance at the Board of Education meeting on August 27th. And so many great things are happening. It's really exciting. And I just want to congratulate our board that's working so hard in a way to disperse everything in terms of the referendum and the repairs. There are repairs being done to the school, the roofs. There's new paving happening, and two very interesting programs I was very excited to hear about is the Rise and Shine program. The Rise stands for Realizing Individual Student Enrichment, and it involves 20 minutes every morning of breakfast and self-affirmation component, which is a time where the students are able to focus right before going into the school day. And as an educator and anyone that's a parent knows there's so much running around in the mornings before you get to class. So having 20 minutes where the children can sit down and have their breakfast and just sit down and refocus, it's such an advantage, because once they start the academics, they're ready, and the teachers have prepared them mentally and emotionally to just go into the academics portion of it, as well as the Chromebook technology initiative, which all students from 2nd grade to 12th grade are receiving Chromebooks as well to assist them in their schoolwork. So good job, and we're excited to continue to work together and seeing ways how we can support the efforts of the board, as well as how we can expand our preschool programs moving forward.
Thank you, Council. Without further ado,
Mayor, I have one thing. Speaking about liaisons to different boards and committees, we do have our county liaison with us tonight, Warden Green from the county. So if anyone has any concerns about anything going on with the county, he'll be here to help us out and direct our questions.
thank you. Good. Okay, we're gonna move on to the fun part of the meeting. We don't have a chance to do this that often, so I'm very happy. I'm not sure how we're gonna do this, Cal. Should we have them all come forward? Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna invite the Belleville Little League District 8 champions forward. Come on up, guys.
Two rows maybe? You got somebody? You guys in the back?
Here. Good. That was good. So obviously, we're here today to honor our 10 and 11-year-old District 8 champions. I will say, and I'm not shy about saying this, I was a former Belleville Little Leaguer, played 4 years, some of the best years of my life. So what you guys have accomplished is definitely a feat. The township is certainly proud of you. But again, these are some of the best experiences that you're going to have. To this day, I'm 43 years old, and I still talk to my baseball teammates from Little League about our experiences. We constantly talk about the games we had, the rivalries that we had, the friendships that we made. And that's got to be, 30 years ago for me. So cherish this time. Great job. You have the support of the township behind you. And without further ado, I just want to read a proclamation. Every young man here will get one, as well as the coaches. I'm just going to read the manual here. Whereas the Belleville Little League program has a rich tradition of excellence, accomplishment, and competition, reflecting the highest ideals of hard work, training, and sportsmanship. Whereas the Belleville Little League 10-11-year-old All-Star Baseball team captured the District 8 championship for 2018. And whereas manager Jay Gimino and coaches Mike Ortiz, Albert Santo, and Albert Carrero, along with their roster, proudly carried the team to the Belleville Little League 10-11-year-old All-Star District 8 champions for 2018. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the municipal council of the township of Belleville do hereby congratulate the Belleville Little League 11-10-year-old District 8 champions and urge all citizens to recognize their exemplary standard of these talented young men that they have set a commitment of dedication to their craft. So once again, formally, I congratulate you all on behalf of the township. Coach, do you have anything that's, no? I'm gonna give you all of these. Can we do one big group picture? Can we do one big group picture? Yep. Come on up, guys. Here's a little bit further up. You know what, why don't we get the banner? It's not, the room is not made for really, all right, just look around and smile, guys. These phones up, so we're not done. Good? All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We're just going to give a minute or so to let the boys leave and open up some more spaces if everybody else wants to sit down. Thank you, We are going to move on to communications.
A request received from residents of Kendall Street for a block party on Sunday, September 16th.
We have a motion? Motion made and seconded. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli? Yes. DePena? Yes. Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Melham?
Yes. Ordinances for introduction.
Ordinance number 1 for introduction, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 3490, creating personnel positions and adopting classification and compensation plans.
Make a motion?
Motion made and seconded. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Melham?
Yes. Ordinances for public hearing, second and final reading.
Ordinance number 1 for public hearing is ordinance of the Township of Belleville, amending Chapter 6, alcoholic beverage control.
Make a motion.
Open for public hearing?
Second.
Motion to open. Motion made and seconded to open public hearing. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Mr. Frantantoni.
Yeah, for purposes of this public participation, the deputy mayor is going to handle public comment.
Mr. Frantantoni.
Yes, for the record, do we know which council person presented this ordinance?
Mr. Frantantoni.
I drafted that about 2 years ago. We can't hear you. I said, we've been working on that for the last year or two. We're just.
All right, our present ordinance says it has to be 1,250 feet between liquor and alcoholic establishments. Why are we bringing this down to 500 feet?
The name didn't match the actual number in the ordinance.
What?
The name of the ordinance is called the 1250 rule, but it didn't match the actual number.
It said the 500-foot rule.
We just changed it to the 500 foot, but it was 750, right?
Now, if you read the old ordinance, it was 1,250 feet.
The original one.
Yeah. Well, even so, why are we going down to 500 feet?
You have any more questions?
Yes, yeah, because this is a serious matter.
Okay.
These other, alcohol is a major problem, not only in this town, in our state, and our country, all right? It is so bad, even our local judge, our Belleville judge was arrested for DWI. He is suspended from hearing the DWI case until 2019. Now, that affects us all as property owners, because now somebody else has to hear, it costs us more money. This is a serious problem. So what reason would you council people want to allow, the average block in Belleville, and I have the road survey, it's 600-700 feet. We'll have a bar or a liquor establishment on every block.
That's not the point of the ordinance.
Well, what is the point of the ordinance?
So if you go to the Nina's in the Park, let's say, and you have a liquor license for Nina's in the Park, right? And we want to open a hotel across the street. That hotel cannot open and have a liquor license.
It just, Councilman, just so it's clear, it doesn't change
That's just
the,
for instance.
it doesn't change the amount of
Number of
liquor
licenses.
licenses.
Right.
So it doesn't increase the amount of
Right.
licenses,
It's
it's just
still
where
the
they
number.
are.
Well, that would be the next step. Probably.
Right.
Once you get it, and then people will want licenses, and then you'll increase the amount of it, which will do two things. Number one, it'll increase the amount of places where liquor gets served, and the other thing, it'll diminish the value of all the existing liquor licenses, of the people who own liquor
That's not what this is
licenses.
even about. There's no
And,
what about.
well, look, something's going on here, and something's very fishy. And to prove it, there's a reason why the mayor recused himself. Does this have anything to do with his property next door? Because he can't put a liquor license in there unless the footage is reduced. Oh, this has never occurred to you, right? Well, then why did he recuse himself?
That's for his own reasons.
His own reason.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, we can't put it up because there's a bar right here, and it's within the 750 or 1,250 feet. So are you doing this to accommodate
Absolutely.
an elected official?
Absolutely not.
Well, something stinks here. And Councilwoman Burke, your husband owned a bar, you know how it would diminish the value of bar licenses and liquor licenses and all. So if this is being done to accommodate an elected official, something stinks in Belleville, and it ain't the Pacific River.
I believe it is, as he said, it's actually a help if we can get a hotel, which we'd all like to have, over by the Jurgens property, that's really.
That's fine.
Or a Clifton Commons.
That's fine.
Okay,
That
that's,
happens.
that's really where it comes down.
So-
And why would he wanna reduce the value of this, if, like, as you say, you know, we're gonna add more licenses, that would reduce the value of his license. I mean, from a business perspective, I wouldn't wanna reduce the value of my license.
Well, as a contractor, I can judge
You know what I'm saying?
footage pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Number one, the Roach property is broken into 4 properties. 3 properties already been approved for development. If the hotel's gonna be, it's on the far corner against Claremont's. That would be more than 750 feet away from Armenia's, if that's your concern. So that's not gonna affect that. You're not doing a 500-foot rule to help a proposed maybe hotel.
I think it was the whole property was the issue at that point, because you do have category to each other.
Yeah, well, you're not doing that, but something stinks here. So I'm urging you sick people, not to vote and keep the current 750 or 1,250 feet rule in effect, because something is mighty, mighty wrong here.
John Schmidt, I have the same question. Why are you changing it to 500 feet? No one is really giving an answer. Mr. Cardell, you were talking, we couldn't hear what you're saying. Why would you, any of you people, vote for that? What would be the reason? I think you owe it to us, the people of Belleville. Maybe it's a good reason.
Yeah, it's a very good reason.
Transparency.
It is.
Or what? Let us in on
So you don't
secret.
want something like Clifton Commons down on Finkelstein property, just for instance. You don't want 2 restaurants next to each other?
Restaurants across the street, they don't have a liquor license, and they do well, that people bring their own bottles. Please don't use that as an excuse.
I'm giving you for instances.
I know, I don't want for instance, I wanna know why you would vote
That's
for
that's
it.
why.
Transparency. Huh?
That is my reasons.
What? Say it again.
To enable developers to come in and do some good businesses.
So
in
you
that town,
already
and
are
restaurants, yes.
planning on that hotel, so you must have made a
I'm
deal
not
with
planning
them
on
or
it.
talking. You know about it,
Okay,
you're talking about it,
okay. This is
and now
an
we're
example.
talking about Mr. Melham, as Vinnie just said, it's to help him out too. So you're helping each
That doesn't
other
actually
out.
help them.
He doesn't have a license, I'm sure he'd like a license,
You would have to
and
come
he
in front
can't
of this
because
board.
the tavern down the street where Jimmy
He has a
was
pocket
feeding
license.
himself.
He has a pocket license.
I heard
He
that.
has a license.
Yeah.
I heard he died. Why did he walk out then? Why didn't he depart?
Because he has a license.
No, you can't use it because it's the use expired, because
Yeah,
it's been
because
vacant
of
for so many
the,
years.
down the street, Jimmy was seen as old bar down the street, on the other side of town hall. Is there's a liquor license there. So you know, transparency is the new word nowadays. You gotta learn what it means to start using it. And you're just sitting up there, not using the microphone, and you're not telling the truth.
Victor Mafuji, does anybody know what the total number of liquor licenses is right now?
Around 50.
I'm sorry.
Around 50.
How many?
50.
I disagree with this ordinance too, but if you're going by that if you have a restaurant, one next to each other, and they need a liquor license, go to Montclair. What about bring your own? A lot of restaurants have that, not only in Montclair, even in Hoboken, and in Red Bank, all over. A lot of places have bring your own when you cannot get a liquor license. So that really is a foolish thing to say.
Anyone else for comments?
Make a motion to close and move for final adoption.
Do I hear a second?
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
The ordinance is approved.
Ordinances for public and second and final reading.
Ordinance number 2 for public hearing. The ordinance to amend an ordinance creating permanent positions and adopting the reclassification and compensation plan.
Make a motion.
Motion open for public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second to open public hearing. Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli? DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Make a motion to close and move for final adoption.
Second.
Motion made and second. Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari? Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Ordinance is approved. Ordinance number 3 for public hearing, and ordinance amending the revised general ordinances in the township of Belleville, sections 3-25, subsections 3-25.1, 3-25.2, and 3-25.3 regarding littering.
Make a motion open for public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second. Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano? Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Frantantoni.
But does this include political signs too?
It's my understanding that this is mostly for the ones that are distributed without the mail, just thrown on your front lawn or thrown on your front steps. So it doesn't, you can't restrict political speech, or we can't restrict post office. This is just those that are thrown
on your driveway, on your front lawn, on your steps.
Are they allowed to bang them on telephone poles and trees?
No.
Need a motion, close public hearing and move for final adoption? Second.
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Ordinance is approved. Ordinance number 4 for public hearing, an ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Township of Belleville, Chapter 8, Page 2.2, parking prohibited at all time on certain streets.
Make a motion open for public hearing? Second.
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Motion to close public hearing and move for final adoption?
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Ordinance is approved. Ordinance number 5 for public hearing, an ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Township of Belleville, Chapter 8-4, one-way streets.
Make a motion open for public hearing?
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli? DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Sir?
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Eugene Simmons. I live at 45 Cedar Hill Avenue. And I want to say thank you very much because on Cedar Hill, between Geralman and Belleville, that's been a dangerous street because it's a one-way coming in. And if you're coming from Belleville to go to Geralman, if nobody don't see those signs, someone's going to get hurt. That's because I tried it one time going up that block, and someone was coming, I was going up. This person was going up, and I was coming down, and the person almost hit me. But I don't know why, that street's been a one-way coming in all these years here in Belleville. And I know it had, since I've been on the block almost five years now, there haven't been no accident. But I'm like this, it's gonna occur one day in the near future. So that street, Cedar Hill, should have been a two-way street years back, instead of one way coming in and two ways coming from the other way. I wanna say thank you for putting it on the agenda for this evening. Thank you.
Well, again, I also want to thank you for changing this. It's a real, again, I don't think our former elected official ever realized that Belleville is a landlocked community. Only two ways go east and west, Belleville Avenue and Geralman Street. Belleville Avenue is a parking lot, especially now with all the new development, it's dangerous. So why they ever made, a one-way, now, a lot of traffic comes up Home Street, from the middle school especially. And what happened, they came up Home Street and they all were directed out to Belleville Avenue. So now they have the option to go up to Geralman Street, at least they'll split some of the traffic up. So thank you for changing that. And to former councilmen, you're the ones that did that. So I'm not thanking you.
Make a motion to close and move for final adoption? Second.
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli? DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Ordinance is approved. Ordinance number 6 for public hearing, an ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Township of Belleville entitled Municipal Parking Lots.
Make a motion to move for public hearing? Second.
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Mr. Frantantoni.
Yeah, this one I have to object to. We only got about 40 parking spaces next door. You're taking 25% of them, 10 from municipal employees, only. Municipal employees come here, and then they're here all day for their 7 hours that they work. As a former vice president of the Chamber of Commerce, we once had the National Chamber of Commerce give us a report on parking in downtown area. The average meter handles anywhere from 8 to 15 people a day. The citizens, the taxpayers, come here. Who stays 10, 15 minutes to pay a bill? Who comes to go to court? So those meters handle a lot of people during the day. By locking them up, the town employees, you're doing it, we don't have enough parking to begin with. But there's something else. In 1990, just before I left office, the commission, we bought a building across the street. It's a lot, I think 30, 35 feet by 123 feet. We're gonna pay it for town employees parking lot. The council manager form of government took over and did nothing to it. I kept bringing it up. After about 10, 11 years, one day, they go and, okay, we're gonna fix it up for parking for town employees. Well, I was there this afternoon just to make sure today. They went out and they bought all these dry blocks, you know, the mortarless blocks, and on the right side across the street, they started a wall. Once again, Belleville never finishes anything, so it was left unfinished. They never graded it properly. At 120 feet, a parking space needs about 9 feet. Say 10 feet, 120-foot lot, you can get 10 cars in there. So maybe this council, after 30 years, can finish, because right now, you might not see it. If any citizen in this town had their lot looking like that, they'd get a violation. There's weeds growing there, the wall on the right side that they built, those stacking blocks, are there, all covered with weeds growing out of them and all. So, please, vote against this ordinance, fix that parking lot, and those 10 employees can park there all day long. It's right across the town hall, it's not going any further. But we need that for the public. You don't have enough parking spaces now. So I request, humbly, I respectfully request you table this until you look into that. That's an option that's been there for 30 years. I don't want to violate the town because I'm gonna pay the fine as a taxpayer. But fix the damn thing. All you have to do is grade it, and if you don't wanna pay it, just put a gravel parking lot. As a trustee of the Safe River Coalition, they're called environmental parking lots if you don't wanna spend for macadam or something. But please table this until you look into that, and let's see if you're finally gonna do something that previous councils haven't done. So I'm requesting you have the courage to table it until you really know what's going on. Thank you.
Make a motion to close for public hearing and move for final adoption.
Second.
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham? Ordinance is approved. Ordinance number 7 for public hearing. Ordinance amending revised general ordinances of the Township of Belleville, section 2-13, regarding office of the Township Attorney.
Make a motion to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Make a motion to close public hearing and move for final adoption.
Sir, Mr. Simmons?
Yes, I have a new topic for this evening, for everyone who's.
Yes, sir, let me just let you know, yeah, we're not in that part of the meeting. Go. Oh, yes, I think we had a motion on there.
Need a second?
Motion.
We had a motion on there.
Who's the second? Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Ordinance is approved. Ordinance number 8 for public hearing and ordinance to amend ordinance number 34900, creating personnel positions and adopting classification and compensation plans.
Open for public hearing.
Second.
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Phyllis Frantantoni, Mount Prospect Avenue in Belleville. Down on River Street, the property that was previously School 1, are we gonna get goats in there? Oh, okay.
Make a motion.
Not against the idea though.
We have a motion, public hearing. Many Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Goldberg? Yes. Mayor Melham?
Yes. Is there a motion to open the public comment?
Motion. Second.
There we go.
Motion made in second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Melham?
Yes. So for those of you who are new, we have our public commenting portion of the meeting right now. If you have something to say, every resident's given about 5 minutes to speak. We ask that you please state your name and address for the record. If you're so inclined, if it's an issue that you want us to follow up with you about, we do have a book in the back of the room. You can sign in and leave your contact information. Okay. We don't. They're not signed in. We're just waiting on some additional sign-in sheets. Mr. Simmons, did you sign in prior?
No, sir.
Did anybody sign in already? Yeah. Did you sign in already?
Vincent Ferriol, I live at
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, just waiting. Okay, I'm sorry, I already called it, yeah. Can you just stand up, if you're able to?
Okay, yeah.
Just state your name and address.
Vincent Ferriol, I live at 210 Apple Street. The issue we're having down there is the parking. There's a sign saying no parking on certain days for street cleaning, and yet the street cleaner hasn't, not been down there in months. If you go down there, the curb is disgusting. Okay, they haven't cleaned up, people are parking there going on a light rail for 2-3 days at a time. And the people live there have no place to park. I put it for a handicap, and I was told I couldn't get it because it's across the street from me, which I understand. Okay.
I'm sorry, which across the street from you live?
There's spots, but where I live, there are no spots on my side. I live upstairs from the old crossing inn, so that's where I'm at, okay? But it's at the point where the other day, my wife was trying to back out the spot, and the guy pulled right behind her, and somebody in the light rail, and she blowing the horn. He cuffs himself between his legs and tells her, I go down the stairs and he takes off. I mean, I've called the cops a number of times for people parking and not letting us out of our spots, or blocking spots. Can we have some type of sign put up, no parking, residents only? There is a sign saying permit for residents only. Give us permits, I'll buy one. You know, heartbeat, just so I can park when I come home. It's hard getting around sometimes. And we're having an issue with people coming off the light rail, handing drugs off to people that are waiting, and then get back on the light rail. Okay?
Thank you. Just so you know, and you're not really a regular here, but we have, the town manager takes notes. We also have our DPW director here and our police chief here. So we've been taking notes and we have your contact information.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Frantantoni?
Jen, the coats.
Now,
Now, really, school one property over there is atrocious. Has anybody rode past it and see what it looks like? I mean, it looks like a jungle. I mean, if a resident did that to their property, they would get a fine. I think that the person, whoever owns it, should at least keep it clean. It's really bad. I mean, there's trees, everything growing in there. So I would appreciate it if somebody would contact them, and if they can't do it, fine them. This is crazy. And Mare Street, is that gonna be paved by Columbus Avenue down? Cause that street's bad.
Mr. Manager, yes.
That's gonna be paved? And now I hear the state DOT is gonna do Washington Avenue and maybe maybe you can contact them before and they can put a light up by ShopRite. One of those lights, if I don't know if Tom Harris is really pursuing it or not, because he did lie to me when he said about the light up on Union Avenue, that did nothing, cause I have all the paperwork on that. And if it wasn't for Joe D in his office, we would not have that light up on Union Avenue and Home Street. So I would appreciate it if maybe you could contact them.
We did
and put a
ourselves.
light.
Ms. Frantantoni, we did ourselves.
You did contact them?
No, we had the meeting, we talked to them directly ourselves.
Okay.
They would let us know.
And, last meeting I mentioned about a resolution, not a resolution, ordinance about the marijuana bill that might be passed and about putting one in our town. Excuse me. Yeah. I wanna give this to you, I got two ordinances from two different towns. I can get more from you, and you can see what they wrote, and maybe we can do something, so we don't have it in our town. We don't need any more, anything to entice the young for drugs. We have the DARE program, why did we have a DARE program? And now they wanna put drugs in the town. I mean, this is sick. So if you would review that, maybe we could do something to stop it, because I think the life is more important than the money you would get for putting the drug place in our town. Thank you.
So as most of you know, that even though you get 5 minutes, because it's public commenting, we don't really normally engage in back and forth conversation. If we do have answers, we do have something to say, we can always say it afterwards, just because we want to give you your allotted time. But just to speak with one of Ms. Frantantoni's points, that was brought up in our meeting with DOT specifically, and Tom Harris is on it now.
Okay.
And they're exploring the fact of whether or not we can get a light in there. We've talked to them about the previous deaths that we've had. They're gonna look into the police department to get some different traffic issues that have been going on there. And we do think, because there's a bend in the road there, even though it's not an intersection, that we can get a light there and even maybe task some of the development that's going to happen in that area to pay a portion of that cost.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes, ma'am. I've been driving through Belleville, and I've seen that none of our roads are actually, strip, the stripes on the street, to let you know, a double line or broken lines or whatever. Some of these streets that we go up are not even, I say, striped, especially Geralman Street. And all the side streets are the same thing. You can't see, the lines in the streets. And I know it's dangerous for all of us sitting in this room here this evening. And I figure that we should try to at least put the stripes on the streets before the snow hits the ground. Because someone's gonna get hurt because there's no stripes on the street, including the crosswalks and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That issue has come to our attention before. We've been in contact with the police department and traffic, and Mr. Tucci, is it standard that in the contract when we pave a street, they have to stripe it, or how does that work?
Yes, typically it's included in that contract.
So when it doesn't happen,
When it doesn't happen, then, if it's not called for, it's typically called for whatever reason, if it's not called for, then either we go to an outside vendor or our forces can do it.
I got prices, Mr. Mayor.
the chief's been already made aware of a couple of
Chief is
these.
on, yeah,
Yeah,
where
Geralman
traffic is
Street,
aware.
Geralman Street is a problem, and, I received several prices to break it up in sections, or do the whole,
But to me, if we're paving streets, it should be part of the paving.
I don't know that we're paving Geralman in that area, I don't know.
On the street, my understanding is on the streets that we are paving now, they will.
Right, thank you so much. Thanks, sir.
Robert Schmidt, 417 Cortland. Years ago, I worked at the summer program, really nice outdoor place. Kids came early in the morning, their parents dropped them off. It was a nice playground type area. And I was there early with the kids, reading them. They were coming, running to Mr. Schmidt. And this guy comes out with a leaf blower, starts blowing crap all over the place with these kids standing there and just coming for looking forward to a nice summer program morning. And I talked to the supervisor, what is going on here? Oh, he's just cleaning, he's just serving. He's just irritated to death. My animosity for leaf blowers knows no bounds. I had a leaf blower next door the other day, just constantly blowing for like at least a half an hour solid. So my contention is I submitted information to you regarding the history, the details of what leaf blowers do, what kind of effects they have on the sanctity of life, the environment. For your consideration, also a list of cities, over 50 cities in America that do not allow leaf blowers. I would appreciate your consideration and something to think about for the future. I can't say. I have a petition too that I'm getting a lot of people that are interested in supporting this. So anyway, I appreciate your consideration.
referring to, resolution number 9. Resolution proclaiming September 15th through October 15th, 2018 as Hispanic Heritage Month. And, as a former Woman of the Year representing Belleville in the Belleville Nutley Columbus Day Parade, I'm just wondering what's gonna happen to Christopher, who we celebrate with a parade along with fellow Nutley. And, I just would like everybody to know that it was, the Italian heritage that put up the second pole that we've been using to celebrate all, heritages. We know that with the food and everything, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But now this encompasses 2 weeks in September, 2 weeks, and it, what's happening to Christopher this year? Do we know?
Yes, I'm gonna, if you're done with your comments, I'll address that. Okay. So what you see here, resolution 9 is a resolution proclaiming September 15th through October 15th National Hispanic Heritage Month. Maybe it's worded a little incorrectly. We're not necessarily proclaiming it, we're just acknowledging Congress. Congress actually proclaims it.
Yeah, it's a national.
September 15th through October is Congress. We're just acknowledging that. So Christopher Columbus is still going to be honored here. As you're well aware, we have a beautiful statue out front to him. I have an entire list of 8 or 9 different events that are happening in honor of Christopher Columbus Day. We have 2, actually both the Man and Woman of the Year for Columbus Day Parade are here. There's a parade in his honor. There's a couple masses. There's an honoree dinner. There's a flag raising ceremony, and there's even an event after the parade, I believe.
It's a wonderful, fun time.
Christopher Columbus is absolutely going to be honored. That's his day. I think it's October 8th or 10th. You know, this is something that Congress has acknowledged as National Hispanic Heritage Month. And just so you know, our population is probably north of 50% Hispanic.
But I also thought it was approved for a whole month as, Columbus Heritage, Italian in New Jersey.
October.
Right?
October.
So that is still in there.
Sure.
Okay.
Columbus came from Spain anyway, you know. They're both together, you know?
Yeah. Remember, you can look at a Spanish flag.
Thank you. Mary Higgins, 148 Brighton Avenue, Belleville. Good evening, everybody. At the last council meeting on August, can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Thank you. At the last council meeting on August 14th, you lauded the planning board for approval of renovating a building on Washington Avenue, I believe it's the old town hall, with the installation of commercial usage on the ground floor, which is a good thing, that's rateable, all right? However, you forgot to mention the 13 rental units being constructed on the 4 floors above that, 11 2-bedrooms and 2 1-bedrooms. I don't know for sure, but perhaps you let this information out because in your campaign, you promised not to endorse any development that would increase the population density of Belleville, which now stands at an incredible 37,000 plus people jam-packed into 2.1 square miles minus the park and the golf course. I think that's higher than Mexico City. Welcome to Belleville. Belleville is at an even split between 50% homeowners who pay the taxes, 50% for renters. Belleville homeowners pick up the tab for increased municipal services such as our good police, firemen, garbage disposal, etc., and school taxes, which I believe are what, $13,000 per kid now, for renters, for people who rent apartments. Moreover, the parking on Washington Avenue, and everybody here is concerned with parking, all right, will be increased as only 0.8% of a parking stall is allowed for a 1-bedroom apartment and 1.3% for a 2-bedroom unit. Now, I want to know if anybody anybody here drives 8/10 of a car. I don't know who made this law. Or 3/10 of a car. So, where are these leftover percentages going to park? Where are they going to park? All right, you're not going to answer, I'll answer. It's a rhetorical question anyway. All right? They're going to park on Washington Avenue in the vicinity where parking for local businesses is desperately needed. You're going to have these people renting, and there's no guarantee if you have a 1-unit bedroom that you're only going to have 1 car. 2 bedrooms, you're going to have 2 cars. So you're going to have more parking on Washington Avenue. All right? The plan for this building was previously vetoed by our good zoning board, who had the common sense, because the #1 concern listed in the Belleville zoning law handbook, which you can find in Ms. Kavanaugh's office, you probably could get it for free, I paid for it. #1 concern in Belleville is that any new development or renovation should not increase street congestion, which means traffic and parking. #1, in zoning. The zoning board vetoed this when it was only proposed to have 10 units, but now the planning board all of a sudden comes up and grants it for 13 units. Alright, however, since you took office and are now on the planning board, these ordinances are being changed, but who benefits? Just like the ordinance for this, liquor license thing, alright? The businesses don't benefit because the people who are renting have to use street parking, so you're taking away from the customers parking on the street. The taxpayers aren't benefiting with increased renters in this town, although I have nothing against them, alright? The renters aren't benefiting because if they have 1 or more cars, they're only allowed to park 0.8% of a car in a stall. I mean, where did these rules come from? This is ridiculous. So who profits from this? Oh, and I have a message for you. Please return the town flags that you took today from the 9/11 park. They belong to the township. Thank you.
Yes, at the 5 o'clock session, the annual honoring at the 9/11 resident who participated in the cleanup of the 9/11 site, correct?
I'm sorry?
At 5 o'clock, you're honoring somebody who participated in the cleanup.
You're talking about Pat Dunn.
The
Is
9/11.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And I admire you. You should admire anyone that took it there, because the 2 of the 3 Belleville residents who perished in that fight, I knew personally. The one, Antoinette Dugar, just did her bathroom a couple of months before that. But you should honor, there's a lot of citizens. In fact, on the next day, September 12th, my son and a bunch of his friends and co-workers volunteered, and they were over there cleaning up the site. You wanna have a whole bunch of pictures of what went on that day. To this day, you don't even wanna speak about it because of the body parts he found it all. So I think if we're gonna honor anybody, we should honor anybody, everybody who's involved with the cleanup over there. Not just one person. Also, resolution 18. Private sale of a piece of town property on Franklin Avenue. That's, I believe, the developer who is being represented by a former mayor, Marina Perna, wants that property to expand their project. They want to build a project, they started with 42 units on half an acre. According to our density law, they're only allowed to build 6 on that site. They want 42. I understand now with they did this project, they want to bring it down to 38, which is still 6 times the density that we allow in there. So, if you do sell, I don't want that property leased there, because lease is gonna be broken. If you're gonna sell it to contiguous property owners, and by the way, you should study the law, because if there's any improvements on that property, it cannot be held as a private sale. So it has to be a clean, unimproved lot to be offered to contiguous property owners. But this happened before. Union Glen, you know the condos over there years ago? The governing body tried to do that. for we the taxpayers. We're not gonna give it to her, you know, for $1,000 or something. So, that, you better pay attention. Resolution 21. The Washington Avenue and William Street, that big empty lot, you want to declare an area need redevelopment. The previous council, which 4 of you sat on, tried this about a year ago, if you recall. And the citizens objected, because that is not an area needing redevelopment. It is an empty lot. It is approved for 8 units. To be built there 12, 13 years ago. 8-story high. And they came back 2 years ago. Story high. They approved them again. So he's been approved. That is not an area needing redevelopment. Dollar Tree, the old auto body place. Did you see what they've done over there with all the antique cars in there? That he rents cars. The garbage, he can't clean the streets. I brought this up for previous councils for years. Somebody's gotta tell them, they have to put the garbage pails back on the sidewalk. Not just talk them, help this guy to fall over, it's a danger. But please, on resolution 21, don't give this developer a gift and put it on the back of the taxpayer.
So I have to come up because I have things to show you. Hi, I'm Grace Higgins, 148 Brighton Avenue. Municipal council meetings are to engage residents in voicing their concerns in an interactive, transparent forum. However, residents who have asked questions have been selectively stonewalled and ignored. In one instance, a resident has been cyberbullied and threatened on social media with the intent to intimidate her from speaking up. At the August 14th council meeting last month, Belleville resident taxpayer Mary Higgins asked if the council could provide a microphone so people who went to speak could be heard by the audience. She then asked if any of the $80,000 from 2 municipal websites run by Mayor Melviam subsidized the Belleville Township website. No answer was given. However, the day after the council hearing, a person on social media orchestrated a direct attack against Ms. Higgins. I refer to this comment in the opening statement. We said a lot of disparaging things about her, all of them lies. He says this woman ran for first ward council in the 2016 election and was destroyed at the polls by first ward councilwoman Marie Burke. The only candidate who ran against Councilwoman Burke was Mary Higgins. Without ever addressing what Ms. Higgins asked at the meeting, he then made the statement, she is completely misguided and confused, along with a lot of other disparaging comments. In another comment endorsed by Mayor Melham, she should crawl back under the rock she escaped from. And this is where Mayor Melham clicked like on the comment that she should crawl back under the rock she came from. And not for nothing, but you mentioned Facebook twice and social media once in your opening statement. In another comment that was endorsed by Mayor Melham, I'm sorry, I just read that. Here's another comment endorsed by the writer of the Post. Yo, just tell name redacted to handle that shit. That to me sounds like a threat. How is he gonna handle that? And again, clicked like on it. And here is Michael Melham's name, clicking like on that comment. Again, why didn't anyone address what Ms. Higgins brought up? Is this how somebody should be treated who's constantly spending her time and energy fighting for the taxpayers? This is a citizen's advocate with 4 veterans in her immediate family. I encourage everyone who's watching this not to be intimidated. Don't be afraid to come up here and speak out. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And, you should speak up at meetings on behalf of all the Belleville residents. Thank you.
Vic Mafucci, 61 Continental. With just a party coming up. Celia Terrace between Berkeley and Continental, very short walk. Can they please not give anybody tickets that day? Because even some of the workers for just a party park down there, early. So I'm asking that if you can, have them not give them tickets. Let's see. Some years ago, Continental was redone. The trees have now started to reach the wires, the electric wires and all. Now would be the time for DPW to trim the topsoil, because you do it from a public work. Once they go up into the wires, public service has to do it. Also, there's an ordinance that to cut down a tree on your own property, you have to get a permit. I can't tell you how many trees I've seen cut down without permits. Either repeal the ordinance or enforce it. Put it on the website. I don't think half the town knows about it. And as far as keeping up appearances, Mr. Burke, you would know about this. I'll mention Grace Dondarski. There used to be one person in each ward who, through the town, would go around, I don't know if she had the authority to cite people, but she would report violations in the area. They were part-time workers, so there were no benefits. I don't think they were paid all that much. It would be good to reinstitute that, so that the residential properties are also maintained. In the future, I know your budget's tight. That's good. Thank you.
Can I speak on that?
Sure.
We already, there is people going around. We do have a woman, I think her name is Shanko, Mrs. Shanko, and she's been going up and down the streets trying and citing people. So that is going on in my area. So it should be done in, well, I agree, the whole 4
The whole
wards.
town, yes.
And Grace Dondarski, rest her soul, did a marvelous job. Marvelous.
132 Franklin Street. I don't know if I'm speaking for everyone here, but I'm speaking for myself. I don't want to get the impression that we're not excited about the prospects of new development in this town. All the plans, all the future projects, that's great. Any kind of business that can be brought into this town is a wonderful thing. I think the taxpayers, their biggest gripe is the density problem. Just putting more people in this town is impossible. You know, traffic, sanitation, everything. If you guys can focus on, you know, businesses, that's great. I don't think anybody here would object to businesses. I think they object to more people. I mean, we all live in this town, you know. I mean, trying to drive through this town, it's hard enough as it is. You know, with people cutting across, and I've mentioned this umpteen times, they cut across Franklin, you know, to get onto Magnolia. You know, it's a hazardous. You know, we saw three cars the other day. They're on Franklin, they don't come to the corner, they cut through. If the firehouse was open, hint, Mr. Tucci, I believe that would cut it down, because when the firehouse was open, the police were there, they would stop in for whatever, and if there was problems, you know, traffic-wise, the police would be right there, driving through, monitoring, or the firefighters would see something, call it in, and it would be taken care of. So at the last meeting, it was about the radios. Have they been in yet? Are they in? Are they working? Come on, somebody answer.
Well, as soon as you know your comment.
No, I'm done.
I want to get
Yeah.
an update. Is there an update?
Some of the equipment has in fact been installed, all right, it's not completed yet, I'm waiting, for the chief, the fire chief to advise me when that's all done, and then we can discuss more.
Excuse me, sorry. Can we please have him at the next meeting again, please? I'm getting gray hair waiting for this firehouse to open, people. Seriously.
We'll make that request.
Frank Fleischman, 132 Franklin Street. To piggyback off of the setup my wife just came up with, I think that opening the firehouse would have helped in an incident that happened, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. We had just come home and we saw 12 to 15 individuals riding ATVs up Franklin Street. Okay, I would have called the police. Okay, but when you call on your cell phone, we found that out during a fire one time that it bounces down to Newark. And they'll bounce, they'll say, well, we can't help you, we have to call your local town. So really couldn't do anything right at that time. But I get the feeling if the firehouse is open, those guys are always out. They could have probably gotten onto their walkie-talkie and got some over there rather quickly. And it looks like it looked like this wasn't the first time they did this, because they were doing, tricks and stunts, that sort of thing, all the way up Franklin Street. It was a sight to behold, but it was also very scary. I'm interested in resolution number 15, authorizing the township engineer to endorse DEP treatment works approval permit application for Silver Lake Village. Now, this intrigued me enough that I actually went on the DEP website to find out what a DEP treatment works approval actually was. And from what I can see, it's basically a application for a permit to approve wastewater and other infrastructure projects for water and waste and stuff like that. My question is, why are you entertaining this now when this project hasn't even been approved by this body? I know it's been approved by the planning board, but in order for it to be official, this body's gonna have to vote on it eventually. And being one of the people who've been most vocal about this, because my wife and I live maybe 200 or 300 feet from the proposed development, I will wait to, to speak my objections again when this finally comes up for a vote in front of you. But I'm just kind of wondering why this is being even considered at this time when it's not an official development or officially approved development. The other thing I wanted to ask is number 19, resolution authorizing the advertisement for the request for qualification for the provision of redevelopment policy advisor services. That's rather long, but I was kind of wondering what that means and why we need it. Finally, number 22, authorizing a contract with the banker group. I'm kind of wondering, maybe it's just off my head. Is banker group associated at all with our former township manager, Thomas Banker? Just wondering. All right, thank you.
Mr. Tucci, do you want to address the civil link?
Yeah, whenever you have an extension of a sewer line, you need a treatment works application, so that in fact, has to be done. As you know, Mr. Fleischman, Silver Lake Village was approved by the planning board several months ago, and they're getting their permitting in order. So they require that permit from the DEP, all right, which will connect to the sanitary sewer on Belmont Avenue. So the council passed a resolution like this several times in the past, allowing us to review and sign the permit application as a representative of the township. And most recently, the senior housing on Mill Street and Roche on Franklin Avenue also got a treatment works application. So it's a requirement, all right, that needs to be satisfied. That's why Mr. Harris is moving forward on it.
So that's prior to the township body actually approving the final project?
That is correct.
Michael, thank you. Mario Cross, 95 Bell Street. It's an issue I've been complaining about it for a long time, street cleaning. I left my house today at 110, had to go out. 2 blocks, Greylock Parkway, a little, 5 cars, nobody got a ticket. I'm looking, I said, you gotta be kidding me. Again, and this is constant, you can talk to Roe in the office, I'm always calling periodically about the street cleaning. One car is parked on the corner, expecting his own personal spot, no license plate in the front, expired inspection sticker, but he never gets a ticket for street cleaning either. And that's a complaint that I've been complaining about for a long time. I hope we can enforce that. The other thing is, landscapers and homeowners, how many times you see people cleaning their lawns, grass, leaves, they leave it in the street? I mean, I drive by every day, I'm around town all day long, and every time I'm driving by, I'm looking, they leave it in the street. I mean, who's supposed to pick it up? They're leaving that for the sweeper. If the sweeper doesn't get it, the rain gets it, where's it going? And that's what we're having. We're going back to the street cleaning. I complained about a year ago, road took care of the problems. 5 weeks. 5 weeks, I called. And finally, they're gonna tow the guy's car, then he moved it. He used to leave this stupid sign in the window on my car is broke for 5 weeks. And he was parked within 10 feet of the stop sign. We never got a ticket. So maybe we can start cleaning up a little bit. And the other issue I've complained about this when Victor Canning was the manager. You could ask Roe again on this one here. In the corner of Union Avenue and Overlook, come up Overlook, make the left on Union. The bus down there. The residents that live in that corner house think it's a private parking spot. They never move. A few times I saw them get a ticket, but they're constantly parked there all day long. When you make the left-hand turn, you cannot see traffic because they're in the bus stop. And this is constant every day. I stopped calling. I don't call anymore. Hopefully we can resolve some of these issues.
I should mind taking notes. Sir?
Thank you. Matthew Dorito, 177 Greylock Parkway. I don't speak for everyone here because I speak for myself since I'm like only 16 years old. And like, I'm extremely nervous right now, you can't tell.
You're fine.
I want to try and make this as quick as possible because I don't want to take anyone's time up here. For some people my age, they would rather be somewhere else. They'd rather be doing other things than being here. But for me, this is interesting, and I live here. So, and I want to get a career in politics in the future, and so I was interested in knowing that if the local high school or even the town offers any sort of like internships or any connections into higher up in the government for people our age or 18 years old when they graduate, in order to get more connected with the government and things of that sort. Because at the moment, all that I'm aware of that the school offers is like things for like doctors and stuff, like other fields other than into politics or anything like that.
Have you tried the mock trial?
Yeah, I'm taking law, and so I'm gonna join the mock trial team, so that's like the closest thing I can get to the school. And yeah, this is like my first time. I'm like watching it. The only time I was ever into local politics was the last election. I was helping the other candidate. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
I didn't see your name in the book, so maybe if you're still around by the end of the meeting, you could just sign the book so we have
Yeah,
information.
definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. Amanda?
Hi, Valerie Lasky, 289 Belmont Avenue. Mayor, I'm very pleased, I'm very happy that we're going to have a road repaved. I'm between Avenue and Franklin Street. Now, meanwhile, while we're waiting for a road to be repaved, we're still having our homes, every time 18-wheelers come down our street, box trucks that come down our street, shakes our homes as if we're having earthquakes. It's very bad. And our homes are sustaining physical damage by these trucks as they do come down and they do speed. They do not go to 25-mile-hour speed limit sign that we have posted on Belmont. And there's another concern. We do have number 4 school, the back entrance. We have our children as well on that block. With these 18-wheelers and box trucks that come down, God forbid, something could happen to one of our children as well as the students who do leave number 4 school on the Belmont Avenue side. We did have a sign that was posted, but was removed back in February of this year. Trucks over 4 tons were excluded. Now, it was removed, and I was hoping, if it's possible, if we could have that sign reinstated and enforced by our law to prohibit these trucks from coming down our streets. It would be greatly appreciated by everyone on Belmont Avenue. Because I speak for every resident that I ever talk to, because I am a block watch captain as well. They all tell me the same thing. They're very upset what's happening to their homes. So if you could help us out, we would be most grateful to you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Lasky,
Yes.
as you know, we've been in constant communication.
Yes, we have been, and I'm grateful for that.
Even during our caucus meeting, Councilman Burke showed us photographs, and you are aware the street is getting paved.
Yes.
And we've already, the town manager has already made a note to look into that sign.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Scott Wentworth, 24 Walnut Street, Belleville. Just a few things, and our county representative is here, so maybe direct it to him. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
Charles Green.
Charles Green, Mr. Green. On the Belleville and Garden, there's a crosswalk, and they put enhanced strobe lights on the crosswalk. But the strobe lights only work on the sign itself. They don't work in the crosswalk. They used to flash in the street and on the sign itself. There's a traffic box that's probably about 50, 75 feet east of Garden Avenue that's been destroyed. And it's been that way for a long time. I believe that might be the cause of that. And with the county paving the park, and they're gonna have a lot more people that are visiting that area, I'm around that corner, it's very hard to cross Belleville Avenue. So maybe they could look into that. And secondly, for the county, is Silver Lake Firehouse on Franklin Street. It's been closed for many years. The traffic patterns have changed, as the Fleischmans have exhibited. People are zooming through that area. They're not used to a firehouse over there. As you know, I'm a fireman, I worked over in that section. But as a resident, I'm asking you to address with the county possible markouts in the streets, so that the people can anticipate that a fire truck is gonna be in and out of that zone And I think possibly, I know there's some issues with the railroad markings, due to the crossings, but if they could take another look at that and survey the area, before the firehouse gets open, so that the firemen are protected in that area. And then the other thing is, bus shelters. Mill and Franklin, Belleville and Franklin. I know Mill and Franklin, we used to have a bus shelter. It was taken out quite a few times by motor vehicle accidents and weather damage. It's never been replaced. Residents that are taking the buses are sitting on the corner, or they're sitting on the guardrail at Belleville and Franklin. It's a danger zone there. There's a drop off. They could fall into the creek. Mill and Franklin, they're just exposed to the weather. Maybe we could talk to New Jersey Transit and find out if those bus shelters can be replaced, enhance the quality of life for our residents. And then resolution number 22. Is that an open-ended contract, and what will be the cost that's being charged? So thank you for that.
I saw the town manager taking some notes, so, for the benefit of those, not often here, you can't necessarily see us writing down, but the township manager or the department heads that are sitting in the audience sometimes do take note. That is not a contract to hire, that's just the ability to utilize services if need be, just like we have engineers that are submit RFPs and RFQs that are on our list. If we ever need them, we have the ability to utilize them. That's not for a position. That's not a job or position like that.
Does it spell out a cost?
I don't.
An hourly billing cycle or a cost for services?
Right now, there's a not to exceed of $30,000. All right, but it's only on an as-needed basis, so we have no idea what that.
Up to $30,000.
Up to $30,000, right? That's with the authorization.
Thank you.
Anthony Spinella, 20 Crescent Terrace. The Observer this week, or last week, it was very interesting that Kearney is having a lot of problems with abandoned houses. And I was just wanted to ask you about that house on Bremen Street. I first took Mr. Cosarelli there when he was elected almost 4 years ago. I took you there before you were elected, and I don't live over there, but someone I like has to have their house backed up to that. And in the article I read, Kearney would consider these houses abandoned. Now, what that means, I don't know. Maybe Mr. Tucci could tell me, maybe a lawyer. Like, why is that thing still sitting there? There has to be something to do. We're talking 4 years now, and I don't even know how many years before that. That house still sits on Bremen, and it's a disaster. And I'm sure it's not the only one in town. Okay, 65 Perry Street, dead tree in front of it. What else? And I think that's a great idea they brought up about people watching each other's wards with residential properties not being cut. More thing, commercial vehicles parked on the street. When I first moved to this town, I had a pickup. I put a ladder rack on it. I got an $80 ticket every night. So I took that ladder rack off and put a cap on it. Okay? There's a van parked on Laurel Court in Garden Avenue for 2-3 years. He doesn't move. It's got ladder racks, name on the side. I see it all over town. Garden Avenue and Belleville Avenue. I think it's a termite guy. He parks there every night. We're not getting tickets. We gotta give tickets are revenue. You know, maybe the policeman doesn't want to get out of the car and write the ticket. I don't know if you can write tickets from your computer in your car today. But the thing is the more revenue we bring in, the more police we can hire. The more fire we can hire. It's revenue. We gotta get revenue. And if that's the ordinance, and I believe I was told after 6 o'clock you can't park commercial vehicles. I'm not sure what it is, but I haven't seen it enforced in a long time. Thank you.
Yep. Michael Sheldon, 47 Floyd Street.
long time ago, I met up with Mr. Green from the county too. And I asked, sorry, and I asked you if you could look into getting some lights above that trestle over there, because it's so dark there, someone's gonna really get hurt. It's right near the senior center. It is so dark, you can't even see. So I'm asking again that we do something. I don't know who owns that portion there or what, but I did speak with you.
Is that a county property?
Yes, that I'm not sure. And I did speak with Mr. Alontia, okay? He didn't think it was a county property, so maybe if you could look into it to find out, then maybe we can get some lighting there, because we're gonna have really a disaster there. So anything you can get back to me, I'd really appreciate it.
Motion is a consent.
Yes. Motion for consent agenda?
Motion with the consent agenda.
Motion made second. Clerk, before you call the roll, I need to pull off number 6, 7, 8. Seven and 8.
When you pull them up, I just abstain on that and vote.
Did you say you're abstaining? That's fine.
That's fine, you don't need to pull them off. I'm just gonna abstain on those 3 resolutions in consent. We have a motion made and second for the consent agenda. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli? DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Mellon?
Yes, abstaining from 6, 7, and 8. New business. There's action item on the agenda. Motion for new business?
Make a motion.
Motion made and second for new business. Put that on.
Yes, Mayor.
Read the resolution?
Sure, I put this on, the clerk will read the resolution.
Resolution by the Township Council of the Township of Belleville as insured by the Municipal Excess Liability Joint Insurance Fund.
Need a motion to move?
Yes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Mellon?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Mellon?
Yes.